and welcome to LFC Focus. So Liverpool have just beaten Southampton by 3-1 in what was quite possibly one of the most comprehensive victories I think you're going to see, not just from Liverpool but from any team in the world this season. You know, it didn't really matter how Southampton played, whether they played well, and they did kind of play well in patches during that game, or whether they played badly, and at times they did play badly as well. No matter what kind of form they showed at any point in the game, they just could not lay a glove on Liverpool. And I think that is just testament to not just the quality in this Liverpool side, and obviously that's not something that we can overlook. This is a side that is huge in terms of how skilled these players are, at just how good they are at this sport that we all love. But also I think the ability to make hard work look so incredibly easy, and we did see an awful lot of that in the second half, which I will come on to later. But starting off in the first half, this is where Liverpool really got the business done. This is where they got the bread and butter that were the 3 goals that won this game for them at a canter. And I think the inclusion of Shaqiri was central to how Liverpool played in that first half, because it really did kind of allow for this free-flowing attacking performance that we haven't really seen enough of so far this season from Liverpool. And he kind of fulfilled something that was kind of close to what Oxlade-Chamberlain did last season. It's certainly an effect Oxlade-Chamberlain had on our front three. I think when he played last season, he certainly helped for them to be free-flowing in terms of movement and stuff like that. But he did also play a little bit like Coutinho in terms of the fact that he wasn't afraid to mix it at any point in the front three, whereas normally when Oxlade-Chamberlain played, he was always behind those attackers and ahead of the midfield. Shaqiri was perfectly happy to play as a 10, to play as a false 9, or to play on either side of either wing as well, in a way that even Coutinho wasn't really doing in his best form at Liverpool. And that's not to say that Shaqiri is as good as Coutinho, but in terms of how he gets about the pitch and what he offers to that front three as well, in terms of creating space for them, providing service from all places, and also allowing them to change wherever they want to play on the pitch at any time as well. I thought Shaqiri was just absolutely vital to what Liverpool were trying to do in that first half, and I think symbolic of something that was actually pretty brave from Jurgen Klopp, because we heard him talk in his press conferences before the match a little bit about how he might tweak his tactics around, he might experiment with different formations. Mainly in his press conference he was talking about trying to include Sturridge alongside Firmino and stuff like that, but he was sort of speaking in general about how he might switch up the formation all the way Liverpool set up and stuff like that. And it's one thing to talk about in a press conference, it's another thing to go into a Premier League match against, you know, pretty decent opposition at the end of the day. They're a Premier League side, and it is still a game that we must win if we want to stay in this title race, and actually say, you know what, I am going to try this new thing that we haven't really done on the pitch before and see what happens. And I think he was just absolutely vindicated in what he did. I really like the inclusion of Shaqiri. Like I said, he gets the best out of a lot of other players on the pitch as well. And one of the things that I really liked was that he actually looked as good as the other attackers on the pitch. And, you know, you can still make statements about how none of those attackers are really at their absolute top level, you know, and it's possible that that's the reason why Shaqiri looks as good as them, because he's playing his best football and they still haven't quite got going yet so far this season, although they're doing pretty well considering those kind of circumstances. But I think it's a really good sign that, you know, when we want to use players as squad players, and we're talking about having fantastic squad depth, it's not just about having second string players to bring in when the others need a rest. It's about having players who can actually provide competition. And based on Shaqiri's performance today, you know, if he knocks any of those players out of the starting 11, certainly for another game like this one against Southampton, where we may be not as worried as we would be against opposition like Chelsea or Man City, but if he knocks Salah or Mane or even Firmino out of the starting 11, you're not looking at it and maybe saying that Firmino's been rested. You're looking at it and saying Shaqiri has probably earned his place in the side, and that, for someone who was playing it for Stoke last season and being caught in a relegation battle, is a hell of a compliment. I also thought Firmino was really, really good in that first half. Again, his movement, like Shaqiri's, was really, really good. I like the way that he drifted around. He dropped into midfield an awful lot as well, and he played a lot of the time out on the left. It was certainly interesting to see that we were playing Salah down the middle, and I think you could maybe argue that that is Jurgen Klopp thinking about this whole goal drought that he's been going on, that, you know, isn't really a goal drought at the end of the day. It's only a drought by most Salah standards. By any other player's standards, he's having a really, really good season so far. 3 goals already is not bad at all, and I'm pretty sure, you know, he's all but keeping up his record of scoring in every game at Anfield. I think that's 30 goals in 31 games at Anfield now, which isn't half bad when you think about it. But yeah, interesting to see Salah down the middle, and I think it was quite good to have him provide that threat, because because certainly when we were trying to get the ball over the top and hit Southampton quickly before they could regroup defensively, it's great to have a player like Salah playing down the middle because you can just send it straight to him without really having to go down the lines or anything like that. And then when we are in possession, Firmino can always drift inside, and he can also, when we're in possession, drift into midfield as well. And again, that's facilitated by Xherdan Shaqiri, because if he drops into midfield, he doesn't have to worry about a space being left in the attack, because Shaqiri can just take his place, Salah plays down the middle, Mane can stay where he is or move to the other side or whatever, and nothing really goes wrong. So it's another sign of how useful Shaqiri is to this team, that he allows other players to play even better because he can take up their positions whenever they want to go somewhere else and try and affect the game in a different way. And I thought Firmino's passing as well was really, really good. He sets up a couple of chances for Salah. In general, in terms of all the attacking play, he's always involved, plays some really, really good passes. It's really incisive as well. He manages to get it through a lot of Southampton players, and I thought he broke the lines, their defensive lines, really, really well in that first half. So Firmino, another really good performer along with Shaqiri. I mean, everyone really played very, very well in that first half. I think it was an intelligent move to play a Henderson and Wijnaldum midfield double pivot, because they are both number sixes really at the moment. Obviously, Wijnaldum more recently converted to that role, but if he says to Henderson and Wijnaldum, both of you just sit off a little bit, don't play defensively, but make sure you're always covering those areas, and then we have a front four that's just doing what they were doing in that game. It's a really, really good setup for Liverpool to have, and I think one that we will certainly be seeing again in these types of games. Maybe not one that we'll see against Chelsea next weekend or against Man City in 2 weeks' time, but against teams like Southampton, where they are going to sit off and allow us the ball, to have someone in like Shaqiri who gives us an extra man going forward and also makes us more unpredictable in terms of our movement is absolutely vital, and really did help us to get the goals. And obviously Shaqiri has his role in the first goal, and like most of the goals in that first half, it did have a little bit of an element of fortune about it, I think it's fair to say. I mean, the best thing you can say about Shaqiri there is that he forces the area. It's nice play for him to cut inside and get into the box, and we almost don't rate how good a chance that is because of what happens afterwards. If he just takes the shot there and bends it in or whatever, we're all saying that that's really good solo play from Shaqiri to craft the chance from out wide. So I think he does do really well, and there is an element of forcing there. There's also an element of fortune. It's just really, really poor from Wesley Hoot, and he's a player I mentioned before the game who we should be targeting for this match, because he is error prone. Out of all those Southampton defenders, he's the most likely to make a mistake. So I think it's no surprise that Liverpool got their first goal through a catastrophic error from Wesley Hoot. And then the other one, again, Liverpool taking advantages of set pieces, which I think is absolutely fantastic, because when titles these days are going to be won on such fine margins, if we want to get ahead of Man City and potentially ahead of Chelsea as well, you're going to need to take every opportunity you possibly can. And when we look back on Liverpool's best seasons in the past, when I think of 2013 to 14, we scored a hell of a lot of corners in that season, and our defenders were just really good at getting goals from those kind of situations. So the fact that Joel Matip gets that header, as much as you can kind of sweep it under the rug and say, oh, it's just a set piece goal, so you can't really tactically analyse it that much, it's still really, really good play from Liverpool, and really, really vital that we're scoring those kind of goals. And again, element of fortune because he's left completely unmarked by Southampton, but you can also say that it's intelligent play from Liverpool to take advantage of that zonal marking, and a really good cross to pick out Matip, and then a really good header from Matip, who isn't always that great attacking headers from corners, so fair play to him there, he does good. So it's a good header from Matip to get us that second goal. And then the third goal, mega free kick from Xherdan Shaqiri. I mean, it's an absolutely fantastic hit, and a horrible injustice that it's not him who comes away from the goal, because it's not even like he dinks it over the wall, or not even like he even tries to get dip. He just absolutely wallops it perfectly, and somehow his technique is so on point that it very nearly goes in. And then Mo Salah gets the goal. Again, maybe a little bit of fortune. It is basically on the line for him, but nice to see him end that little goal drought that he's apparently been on. And, all the smiles, everyone giving him a hug, him kind of smiling and being like, oh, what am I like, when he scores that goal, just tells you that anyone who's trying to come up with this conspiracy theory that Salah's not happy because he threw a bottle on the floor or whatever, just get lost. It's a load of nonsense. Mo Salah is happy at Liverpool. He's got 3 goals to his name already this season, and all things considered, I think that is a pretty good record. So moving on to the second half then, and this was a little bit of a procession, the second 45 minutes. Neither team really necessarily got going, although again, like I said, Liverpool make hard work look so incredibly easy, and that is down to the quality and down to the incredible game management that we have shown so far this season. You know, I think the Shaqiri sub was a little bit odd because, like I said, our attack was working so well in that first half and he was so integral to that. Although maybe you could argue that with it being 3-0, we didn't really need to attack the game, and we can kind of look at it and think, well, we've got this really difficult schedule coming up, and instead of just subbing off Salah and subbing off Firmino and taking off Mane and stuff like that and just weakening our team, why not just calm things down and play it at a slightly slower speed? And like I said, because of our game management, we're capable of doing that without going sloppy or anything like that. I mean, the one thing I would worry about the Shaqiri sub is that maybe he's just a little bit tired because, you know, he hasn't played that much football this season. It's his first start for Liverpool, and my God, did he cover some ground in that first half. And there have always been questions about his attitude and about how much running he does and about his fitness in general, his ability to go the full 90 minutes in a game. So, you know, maybe there's a little bit of worry there, but I'd hope that it's just Jurgen Klopp saying, we've got this in the bag already, we might as well take it easy, and so we're going to calm things down, take Shaqiri off, play a little bit more by the book in terms of the way we attack, and everything will be fine. So hopefully Shaqiri's absolutely fine. Fingers crossed that he puts in another really good game. I reckon that he's going to play in that game against Chelsea, which is great because he's not just a second stringer now. You look at him on the team sheet in that game and say he could end up being the standout player. He could be Liverpool's star man, which is wild considering the opinions had on Shaqiri when he first arrived at Liverpool. But yeah, we calmed things down all the way through that second half, and I think the biggest compliment you can give Liverpool is that Southampton did kind of try their best in that second half. I think their idea was mainly that, you know, they just come in and don't let it get any worse, but I think they were trying to get goals. They were getting players forward, they were trying to force situations, and at no point did Liverpool really look troubled, and at the small moments when they did, they dealt with it so incredibly well. You know, there's a moment where they try and play a pass in and Trent Alexander-Arnold is just in the perfect place to cut out that pass, and it ends up with another Liverpool counter-attack. There's another moment where Gomez sort of gets caught out with the long ball over the top, and a lesser defender could make a show of it. You know, I've seen plenty of times someone like Skirtle or Sacco would have got their legs in a tangle and Southampton could have got a goal scoring chance out of it, but Joe Gomez was just able to show just how good he is, that he got in that situation and was just absolutely fine. He used his strength, he used his intelligence, he makes a good tackle, and Liverpool go on the counter-attack again. So Southampton just could not get anywhere near Liverpool, even when we took our foot off the gas and just looked to manage the game and see things out. I think Matip also deserves a little bit of praise because he was just solid throughout. You know, a player who recently at Liverpool, certainly not when he first arrived. When he first arrived, he was meant to be the solution to all our centre-back problems. But I think for the last year or so, he's looked incredibly shaky and is a player that now people look at and think, I'm not really sure I trust him. He's certainly gone down the pecking order since he first arrived at Liverpool, and certainly since Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk has come forth as our first choice centre-back partnership. As a little side note, Van Dijk was watching the game from the subs bench for the rest of the second half, so I think he's probably fine. You know, again, it's one of those games where you can look at it and say he's probably all right to continue, but it would be fine if we subbed him off anyway, and we brought on a fantastic player in Joe Gomez regardless. But I thought Joel Matip did do really well, did some nice ball playing centre-back stuff as well, and he does get his goal, which is nice to see, and I think never really looked too flustered, which he has done in the past, and that's important for Liverpool because, as I mentioned before, we don't want to have a first string and a second string. We don't want to be bringing in players thinking this is kind of like when we're playing the kids or where we're rotating and playing a weakened side. We want to be bringing in these players and saying, actually, they're pretty good, and maybe not as good as the players we got in the first team because, like I said, Gomez and Van Dijk are fantastic, but looking at them saying they're still probably good enough to play most matches this season for Liverpool. So that was a really, really solid sign from Joel Matip. All things considered, a really, really good game for Liverpool. I think my man of the match, probably Xherdan Shaqiri, because even though he plays 45 minutes, he has the best 45 minutes of any Liverpool player on the pitch. And like I said, he really facilitated everything we did in attack. And I think that's a really, really positive sign going forward, that Xherdan Shaqiri can count himself as a player who can be influential for this Liverpool side, not just as a squad player, not just as someone to play in weakened teams in the League Cup and something and stuff like that, but someone we can bring on and say, you know what? We trust you to change the game. He's done it already so far this season. When he's come on, he's been a really useful substitute, and it's just a really positive sign that we're seeing it when he starts in the first 11 as well. So yeah, Shaqiri's my man of the match, even though he only played 45 minutes. I think you could give it to most Liverpool players on the pitch, maybe even Henderson as well, because I think he did really well to just marshal the game from midfield, especially in that second half when we're managing it. He never looks flustered. He makes sure that the tempo of the game is the exact tempo that Liverpool want it to be at. But that is basically basically the story of the game. We ran the show from minute 1 to minute 90. Southampton did not have a sniff until they got their first shot on target in stoppage time, and even then that was a little bit of a hopeful effort from Charlie Austin. And you know, you can sweep these results under the rug. You can say, oh, you know what, who cares, it's Southampton, they're crap, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, beating any team in the Premier League that easily has got to be applauded, and the fact that Liverpool are able to do that, and it's not even a cause for fanfare, it's not even something that people sit up and go, wow, look at them just sweeping Southampton under the rug. It's something that is almost becoming commonplace for this Liverpool side, is an incredibly good sign going forward, and a sign that maybe, just maybe, we can finally end what will end up being a 29-year wait for the Premier League title. Fingers crossed for that. But that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, then why not give it a like? If you're new around here as well, hit that subscribe button there. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back very soon with the pre-match build-up for the game against Chelsea in the League Cup. Until then, bye for now.